So what we're going to be going through today is a few things. So I'm gonna be going through a Autodesk sort of cloud PDM Upchain, and just giving an overview of what the capabilities are of Upchain, and also we'll be going through some of the different connection points where we can integrate Upchain and PLM together, which is Autodesk Fusion 360 Managed, and how we can integrate the two together to give you sort of a better, more optimized data flow between PDM and PLM. And then followed by that, we'll have a bit of a Q&A if there's any questions after the presentation. So this is just some stats on PDM, where when companies are not using PDM, right, you get wasted engineers looking for product data, right? 2 months per year, right? Engineers, 10 systems that engineers use to make one change. 83% of new products miss their cost targets, and so on. So, with the combination of using a PDM and PLM, we want to reduce some of these numbers and make the product lifecycle more efficient. So some of the business drivers that kind of drive this is, digital transformation. So, in this day and age, everybody, the companies want to be able to digitize a lot of their workflows, have those workflows in the cloud so that they're easily accessible. And especially, a lot of companies these days are going, hybrid work environments. And so we need to be able to access data wherever we are, whether that's in the office or whether we're working at home or anywhere remote. So, oftentimes companies have different data silos, right? So, data might be stored on a network share, or they might be stored locally on a person's computer. And so we want to eliminate that and just have sort of one storage area where all that data is stored. And then we got some other areas as well here as well, right? So product complexity, compliance, supply chain. So supply chain also will help us. Upchain and PLM can also help us with supply chain management and managing workflows with suppliers that we interact with. So PDM versus PLM, right? So PDM manages, more at the file engineering level, right? So, things like library parts, categories of data, metadata, file history, version control, right? So all these types of things that, are heavily used within engineering, check in, check out, access control to that data, right? Allowing two engineers or two designers to work concurrently. Those are all the types of things that PDM can help us with, right? Whereas PLM is more the overall strategy or workflow of a product from inception to retirement, right? So, as it says here, PLM is a strategy for connecting your data, people, and processes across the entire product lifecycle, right, to a central source of information. So PLM is going to manage, conceptual design of that product, to design of that product, to manufacturing of that product, and eventually retirement of that product if it does, if it's not in use anymore. So it's going to manage sort of the whole life cycle of that product. So PDM is just not for engineers, right? So, a PDM such as Upchain gives you some areas where you can interact with suppliers, customers, and that sort of thing, right? So, with Upchain, we're able to, it has a supplier portal where I can give access to suppliers to collaborate on, design on that type of thing as well. I can also work with customers, give customers access to a portal to also collaborate on. It's good for outsourced engineering just because it's cloud-based, so it's easy access, no VPN or anything required, and allows me to work with more partners more efficiently as well. So, some of the things that Upchain kind of helps with in that is, companies struggle with the basics of PDM, right? So controlling, accessing, and sharing, right? So Upchain helps with that, right? So it helps with access of data, sharing data, controlling that data, who has access to it, all that kind of stuff. So, some of the core data management challenges, people have are, finding the right information. Oftentimes, without a PDM and working within a network file share, you're not able to find data very quickly, right? So what ends up happening, people recreate that data. So it causes a lot of duplicates, right? Wasted time for searching for data, that's a big one. Reusing data, right? So, when you can't find data, you tend not to reuse a lot of data, right? And then working on outdated data, right? So, in a network share, it's very hard to find which data or which file is the latest version of a file or what the latest revision of a file is. And so PDM can help with that as well. So it says more than 40% of all companies report an issue with collaboration, right? So one of the things that Upchain is really great at is collaboration, right? So collaboration with other departments, whether that be collaboration with other departments within your company, or collaborating with suppliers, customers, other third parties. And so Upchain kind of really helps with those challenges. And then process. Okay, so the other thing that sort of, Upchain or PDM just in general helps with is establishing a process, right? So it gives you workflows to manage change, configure bills of materials, managing design data by project, and then managing project and task execution, right? So one of the nice things about Upchain is that I'm able to assign tasks to people. I'm able to mark if that task has been completed, and ultimately push all that through a workflow that manages that task and that change. So again, just going back to this, the three things that this kind of helps with is data, people, and process, right? So keeping the data, in a centralized location, allowing us to collaborate with internal and external stakeholders, and then process, right? So controlling that product development process. So this slide talks about just, traditional PDM and what Upchain has to offer, right? So a traditional PDM can be, expensive IT overhead and hardware. So traditional PDMs, require an IT infrastructure, right? Servers, server OSs, SQL databases, or, other types of databases. Training can be quite lengthy and costly, and time-consuming and costly upgrades, right? So with traditional PDM, there's a path that you have to go through to upgrade to the latest version and whatnot. So there's a cost to that. Whereas Upchain, removes a lot of the stuff that a traditional PDM has to offer, right? So low cost of ownership, out-of-the-box workflows and integrations, quick and easy onboarding, rapid deployment and adoption. Because Upchain is cloud-based, there's no IT infrastructure that needs to be set up. There's no installation that needs to happen. It's all accessed through the browser, as you'll see later on when I kind of go through some of the things that are in Upchain. And evergreen, so automatic updates at no extra cost, right? So again, one of the biggest benefits of a cloud-based solution is that Upchain is, because it's cloud-based and it's doable, it's being updated monthly, right? So at no extra cost, right? So new features are always being added into Upchain, and there's no cost to that, and there's no installation that's required to access those new features. Those new features get deployed to your cloud tenant, and you have access to those new features instantly. Okay, so diving a bit deeper, so Upchain has a common interface that everybody sees, and you can see from this screenshot, it's project-based, so it kind of gives you a dashboard of where a project is at, what tasks are overdue, critical assignments, and that sort of thing. It gives you sort of an activity timeline, in the bottom corner here of what's going on in that project. So intuitive dashboard. So this is kind of a task list of different tasks that have been assigned in the project. And it gives you sort of a Gantt chart view of those tasks, when they're due, what needs to happen, who's assigned to them, and that sort of thing. Okay, so it keeps everybody engaged and informed. So just going back to what I just said, keeping everyone aligned, right? So, this is sort of a view of all the projects that are inside of Upchain, where their status is at, what completion rate they're at, and where each project is at. Okay, so, and again, activity stream, it gives me a listing of my assignments. So it's sort of a common dashboard that I'm able to view within Upchain as well. So it's CAD agnostic, right? So one of the things with Upchain is that it works with multiple CAD systems. And so if you're a company or an environment that has multi-CAD or multiple CAD systems, Upchain is a great solution, right? Because it's got an add-in for Inventor, it's got an add-in for SolidWorks, it's got an add-in for Creo, CATIA, AutoCAD, just to name a few. So it's CAD agnostic as well. And you can see that it integrates right into the CAD product, right? So I've got an Upchain area or an Upchain toolbar here that allows me to access the data right within the CAD software. So the other thing, everyone sees the same data, right? So there's not, because a PDM manages versions and you're allowed to see what those latest versions are, everybody's viewing that same version, right? It's not, you're out of that situation where you have a copy of the file on your machine, someone else has a copy of the file on their machine, and you don't know if it's your version is later or newer than what the other person has, right? With Upchain, you've got everyone's viewing the same data and a common model and drawing. So one of the other things with Upchain, it allows us to speed up review cycles, right? So, there's a workflow within Upchain that allows us to, initiate investigation requests or change requests where, if something needs to be modified or changed, we can, as you can see from the screenshot here, we're able to go in and mark that change up and then push that through a workflow to get it to the appropriate person that needs to make that change. And then visualization, right? So allows me to go in and visualize that data. I'm able to rotate that model. I'm able to take measurements. I'm able to, use an exploded view to explode it. I can measure distances. I can take section views. So I can really interact with that model without having to open it up in the CAD program. And again, this is all just done right in the browser. And then automated BOM and 3D compare, right? So one of the things I'm able to do is, when I check things into Upchain from Inventor or SolidWorks or whatever CAD I'm using, right? That BOM is automatically generated, right? So I'm able to go and see that bill of material. I'm able to see the status of those items. I'm able to see the metadata of those items, and I've got a full sort of bill of material here that I'm able to interact with. And then I'm also able to compare bills of materials as well. And then it's got supplier management in here, a form of supplier management in here as well. So, I can add in inside of Upchain all the suppliers that I work with or interact with, and I'm able to give those suppliers their own sort of portal that they're able to go into and mark up models or drawings that I give them access to, right? So if I need to collaborate with a supplier on a model or on a drawing, Upchain gives us that ability to go in and interact with that supplier and giving them their own portal to go in and do that collaboration with. So that's one of the great features of Upchain as well. Right, so you can see here I've got my suppliers listed here, and I can fill in all the information of that supplier, contact info, and everything else. And here's a supplier interaction where you can do things like RFQs as well, and it'll go and send out an RFQ to that supplier. And here's the supplier sort of portal that I was talking about, where the supplier can go in and they can view the model. They're able to interact with it, accept the RFQ, reject it, which would send an email back to us, and that sort of thing. So really great supplier management or supplier collaboration functionality. And this is sort of a drawing that a supplier would see that you could give them access to, which is a PDF. So one of the things that Upchain does a really great job at is it automates and creates all your viewables as well. So this PDF is automatically generated inside of Upchain, and I'm able to give suppliers access to this PDF that they can go in and download and mark up and that sort of thing. So it gives me that as well. Okay, so what I want to get into next is, so that was just an overview of Upchain and the PDM part of this. Oftentimes, what we need to do with PDM is, and especially if you're using a company that wants to use a PDM and a PLM solution to manage sort of the extended workflow using PLM, we can connect the two together. So these next few slides, what I'm going to be talking about is just how we can collaborate with PDM and PLM and how we can connect the two with a few different workflows. Okay, so PLM Connect is a tool that we can use to connect Fusion 360 Manage with Upchain. Okay, and then that's the tool that we're going to be looking at here specifically. But there's other extensions that we can also extend this out to. So if you're using Vault for your PDM, we can connect Fusion 360 Manage with Vault as well. And then there's more of an enterprise version of this where we can connect Fusion 360 Manage with other enterprise applications such as an ERP or a purchasing system and that sort of thing. So PLM Connect with Upchain allows us to do a few different workflows. Okay, so the first workflow is publishing from Upchain to Fusion 360 Manage via a change request, right? So what this will do is it'll create a corresponding change order in Fusion 360 Manage, along with items, viewables, translation files, and BOM structure. Okay, and then we can also go back and synchronize Fusion 360 Manage with Upchain. So if a change order is rejected, right, we can have the corresponding change order inside of Upchain set to a rework state or whatever state that you want that to be set to. And this can go back and forth until this change order is finished and it's finally been accepted. And then we can also use there's also another workflow with Fusion 360 Manage and Upchain where we can trigger problem reports. So things like let's say, and again, just understand Fusion 360 Manage is going to be used by everyone else in the company other than engineering, right? So let's say someone outside of engineering, let's say a project manager or a salesperson, or even someone in the shop floor, let's say a customer contacts a project manager to say that there's an issue with a drawing or a part. And what that project manager is able to do is they're able to initiate what's called a problem report inside of Fusion 360 Manage. And when that problem report gets to a certain stage where it requires, a little bit of design rework, or it requires a change to the drawing or to the model, we can have it then trigger an investigation request inside of Upchain. And that investigation request in Upchain can then be assigned to a designer or an engineer to do a further technical analysis on that drawing, on that part, to see what that problem is and how that problem can be resolved. So we're really able to interact with Fusion 360 and Upchain with some of these workflows. And again, just with the extensions, we're able to do similar things with some of the other extensions as well. So with Vault, publishing from Vault to Fusion 360 Manage via an ECO, and also with the enterprise solution where we can publish, release product data to other enterprise systems, right? So again, those could include ERP or an MES system or systems of that nature. Okay, so some of the benefits, right? So seamless data and process synchronization between PDM and PLM, right? So we're able to have them seamlessly work together and collaborate each other with. Quick and simple install, so there's no code or downloads, ensuring so there's no installation of this, right? And that's the beauty of the cloud, right? Because Fusion 360 Manage and Upchain are both cloud-based, a lot of the work to connect the two is done in the background and not even something that the user actually sees. So that's one of the main benefits of this as well. Process synchronization. So we're able to fully synchronize processes between Upchain and Fusion 360 Manage, right? So, I may have some engineering specific processes where I may be doing a design that then gets released out of engineering, and now it needs to be, reviewed and looked at by other areas in the company, such as quality or production or suppliers or whatever, right? And that's where Fusion 360 Manage comes in. So with the Connect solution, I'm able to fully synchronize those processes seamlessly. And then enterprise connectivity, right? So, once that information has been published into PLM, I'm then able to take that information from PLM and release that data into ERP and other, enterprise systems that I may want it to be. Okay, and then the last one, right? And as we've seen this throughout this, is access anytime, anywhere, right? Because it's a cloud-based solution, I can access this, on my laptop. I can access it on my iPad, on my phone, wherever I'm at, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it's browser-based, and I'm able to access that information anywhere. Okay, so just sort of giving you a picture here of how this works. So connecting Fusion 360 Manage with Upchain enables world-class PLM and PDM capability, right? So you've got on-prem, you've got cloud, and then you've got software as a service. Those are sort of the three components, right? So support for all major CAD tools, okay, that we've got here, right? So Fusion 360 Manage with Upchain lies over here, right? And then, if we look at the way that this goes is you've got your CAD, and these are all the CAD tools that can put data into Upchain, and then it goes into Upchain, and then you've got PLM Connect as your middleware to transfer that info from Upchain into Fusion 360 Manage, right? And then you've got PLM Connect Enterprise, where if I need to connect and take that data from PLM into other systems, I'm able to do that, right? So, and this is just a sort of a listing of different systems that we're able to go in and connect with. Okay, so some use cases for this, right? So publish items from Upchain to Fusion 360 Manage, which I'll show you on my screen here in a second. And then Fusion 360 Manage problem report trigger and IR in Upchain. So those are kind of the three sort of use cases that we've got here. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to just step into Fusion 360 Manage and Upchain. So I'm going to go to Upchain first and just kind of give you a little bit of an overview, right? So with Upchain, in the main screen, when I get into Upchain, you can see that it's just got a listing of all my projects. It's got a listing of all, the assignments that are in that project and their completion percentage and the items that are in that project. I've got an activity stream and assignments that allow me to, the assignments that are assigned to me, okay? So if I go into a project here, so this is a dashboard more so on the actual project, right? So this over here tells me that this project is 100% complete. It'll tell me project completion. It'll tell me, any tasks or anything that's overdue, and any critical assignments, right? Got an area here for project info. And then, even as, this project is complete, so you're not going to see the graph here, but it'll tell me here, also graph out the information and tell me the overall project process. So one of the things that you'll find with Upchain is it's a project-based system, right? So everything's done as a project. And then I've got my activity stream here as well that allows me to go in and track what's been happening inside of that project. If I click on bill of materials, so like I said, one of the things that this allows me to do is also manage bill of materials, right? So here you can see that I can view bills of materials in here. I can also, if I want to view things, right, I'm able to go and view things here as well, right? So I can go in and view, I can rotate, and I can look at, right, and I can interact with that, right? So I can go in here and I can take section views and all sorts of things. So I can start to view things within here as well. And I'm able to see that status of that bill of material. So you can see everything in my bill of material right now is in a released state. If I go down in here, I've got project management in here as well, right? So here I can go in and I can create tasks and assign tasks, and it'll track it sort of as a Gantt chart for me in here as well. And then in business processes, I'm able to go in and track change orders and change requests inside of my business practices here. So just to give you an idea, so let's say, for example, I wanted to take this assembly here, right? And one of the things I'm able to do is I'm able to, change it out or take it out to a change request, right? So if I go here and I say change request, actually, let's do, let's see, I can do this one here. Yeah, so if I go here and I go into change request, I'm able to go in and put these items through a change request, right? Now, one of the things that this allows me to do is I'm able to go in and pick the workflow the change request workflow that I want this to go through. So I can have multiple change request workflows based on what I want to do. But let's say I want to use a change request workflow that's going to publish this to Fusion 360 Manage. Right, so when I hit save, it's now that workflow has been assigned to it. I'm going to go ahead and start that workflow. And when I start that workflow, it tells me that that workflow has now been started. It's just telling me that it's processing the workflow, right? So one of the things I'm able to do now is, as I'm in this workflow, right? So now this is in a release state now, right? So let's say I'm ready to now publish this into Fusion 360 Manage, right? So if I click on the publish, right, it'll now go through, it'll process those items and publish this into Fusion 360 Manage. Okay, so now I can either have two options. I can either approve or reject, right? So if there's rework required, so if I go ahead and I just say approve, right, it'll go through and approve and upload these released items into Fusion 360 Manage. Okay, so if I go to Fusion 360 Manage now, okay, so you're going to see here, you're going to see inside of Fusion 360 Manage, let me just close this out for 1 second. So I've got some change orders I had created previously, but if I go to Fusion 360 Manage now and I go to my dashboard here, you can see these are the change orders that I've got created inside of Fusion 360 Manage now, right? So if I click on one of these change orders, you'll see that it's gone in and it puts in, the information, right? Puts in the change reason code. I can then assign this change order inside of PLM, who's going to be the approver. So if I edit this change order inside of Fusion 360 Manage, now I can assign within Fusion 360 Manage who needs to approve. Okay. So if I go ahead and I save that, it's there. It's also put the bill of material items into as part of that change order. So you can see I've got all the bill of material items in here as well. Right. So if I were to click on one of these, you can see that I can access that bill of material item right within Fusion 360 Manage. If I were to go in here, I can view the actual bill of material. So you can see it's a structured bill of material. If I go to the actual bill of material itself and I go to the attachments, the actual item itself, right, I can view that item right inside of Fusion 360 Manage, similar to how I can view it inside of Upchain. And again, I can go in here and I can mark things up. I can add comments. I can measure things, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm able to do, you know, quite a few things in here. So let me go back to the change order here. Okay, so here's the change order, you know, attachment. So in Fusion 360 Manage, now this is going to go through a workflow as well, right? So now, you know, in Fusion 360 Manage, you know, now I can have it go through a more extended workflow where other areas might need to get involved, right? And this workflow that you're seeing here is just a workflow that's been set up in my tenant, but this workflow is fully customizable, right? So I can go ahead and customize this workflow to be whatever I want it to be based on my company needs. Okay, so if I go in here, I'm able to now go ahead and submit into the workflow as well. Okay, so I just want me to select here as well. So yeah, I'm able to go in and take the change order completely through the workflow here as well. Okay. And so that's how I can sort of interact with the two between Upchain and Fusion 360 Manage. The other area where I can go in and interact is inside of here. If I go underneath a problem report, so here I can also interact with Fusion 360 Manage as well, right? So if I go in here, I can initiate a problem report within Fusion 360 Manage, and if I look at the workflow, right, I can tell it, you know, when it gets into this technical analysis stage, create an you know, investigation request inside of Upchain. Okay, so those are the two areas where I can kind of interact with Fusion 360 Manage and Upchain are those sort of streamlining those two workflows together, really getting engineering and extended area of the company involved. So let me just stop my screen sharing here. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. So if I go back here, so PLM Connect with Vault. So this is talking about just some of the other extensions that we've got here, where I can do sort of a similar scenario if I was using Vault, where I can publish from Vault to Fusion 360 Manage via an ECO workflow, and sort of do a similar workflow if Vault is the PDM that I'm going to be using. Okay,